take me back to the first time you became aware of Dee Snider.
Wow, okay. I was 11 years old. I lived in New York. You know, all my friends, they have brothers, older brothers, they were like 13, 14. They're like, hey, check out AJ's band. AJ, you know, lived in Staten Island when I lived in Staten Island, and we all knew him. He's like, yeah, he's the drummer in this band. He's really good. And we're just kids and everything. And then I just heard the start of that first album, you know, good evening. And I was like, yeah. And always been a fan of Sister.
Sure. Well, Dee Snider is the transvestite that every little girl aspires to be like. I remember being in high school and hearing Twisted Sister and just really thinking this guy's got some balls.
Yeah.
And you know, the makeup and being able to be so flamboyant really attracted me, especially coming from such a theatrical background. So he really did inspire me. And
I was Burbank, California, watching my TV, watching MTV, and seeing the first Twisted Sister video, which was I Wanna Rock, with that guy screaming what he just screamed a little while ago.
I know, that's pretty awesome.
That's my first memory and recollection and introduction into Twisted Sister and Dee Snider.
Actually, first time was when Twisted Sister was doing, like, actually before they got really massively big, because I remember they were playing clubs back in the day on the East Coast, you know what I mean? But then when they came out with Shoot 'Em Down and everything like that, and it was on the radio, we're like, oh my God, you know, because they're from the East Coast, you know, the hometown heroes. So that was pretty cool, you know what I mean?
I was 13, 14 years old, and watching him on MTV, and thinking that he was just a horrifying looking man, and a scary man. He seemed to be really fucking mad about something. I didn't know what was up his ass and why he was so angry, but he was pissed at me and my chocolate milk, and I didn't know what he was so upset about. But and then Metcalf was yelling, and then Dee came out and was yelling about we're not going to take it, and I want to rock. And I just knew that if I didn't buy a ticket to his show, somehow he's going to beat the fuck out of me. Like I thought he was going to come find me. So I got scared into liking him because I was very easily intimidated. So. And then years later, we became friends.
I was at Twisted Sister band since probably around 79 or 80. I used to sneak into clubs to see them. I had a fake ID or something, or maybe even not. I didn't even think I had a fake ID back then. And I used to sneak in to see them because they were like the hottest club band in New York at the time, and they were like the thing to see. So yeah, I've been a fan for a long time.
Probably the We're Not Gonna Take It video for me.
Yeah, family room, Sienna Drive-In in Chicago, watching MTV, and he was on like literally every 15 minutes. Heavy rotation.
And what were your thoughts when you first saw all
wow, that chick's really ugly.
Yeah, the hair and crazy makeup.
I was, this is going to make me sound really old, but I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and I saw a commercial for Friday night videos. This is before MTV was even big, and it was like you had to stay up past midnight on Friday on NBC to see the video, and I saw a little clip of We're Not Gonna Take It, and I was like, I gotta see this. Stayed up all night waiting for it.
Aww.
And I was a fan ever since.
Yeah? Awesome. How about you guys?
Mine's pretty much the same story. I mean, I got introduced to Rat and then them, and just really liked the makeup and the theatrics of the whole thing, and been a fan ever since, you know?
I think on the radio when I was about 15, there was a Dee Snider, a Twisted Sister concert they played on the radio, and I recorded it on my cassette player. We played that thing a million times. Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Yep, Sister.
What I wanted for my birthday, I wanted Battle Armor He-Man, and she said, no, I'm going to buy you a boombox and a cassette tape. Who do you want? And there on the TV was Twisted Sister, and We're Not Going to Take It. And I bought that tape. No, I didn't. My grandmother bought it for me. And I listened to it until you couldn't play it anymore. And in 4th grade, I buried it in the backyard. And every point in my life, when I was about to give up on what I was chasing, I would run into Dee Snider somehow, and we would inspire each other to keep going. And it's a remarkable story, and it's all true. He married my wife and I just a few years ago. He officiated our wedding, and now he's our co-star on our TV show. But he's been a lifelong guardian angel and friend of mine, and there's no greater person in the world than him.
How do I go after that?
I know, right? No pressure.
Well, my first, I guess, exposure to Dee Snider was thanks to Tim Burton, to be honest, because I saw him on Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I went, that is the ugliest chick I've ever seen. but I probably still want to make out with her, you know, because she's on a car. I mean, it worked for Whitesnake, right?
Johnny Contain, man.
But I mean, just like Adam, Dee's been a true friend of ours. He's been a family friend of mine. He rode choppers with my dad, and then the fact that we get to act with him on a TV show is one of the greatest things ever.
83. It wasn't MTV still. I had heard of Twisted Sister before that, like maybe in the early 80s somewhere. Like some kind of weirdo, kind of trippy, you know, trying to be the dolls, you know, in a different era with medals, you know. So that's how I found out about it.
We did some shows together in 1984. These really stick out in my head.
Oh yeah.
We both played the Pier, and I came off stage, and then Twisted Sister went on, and that night was insanity. There was a lot of celebrities backstage, and actually I still have the backstage pass. It's still in the guitar case. It's pretty wacky.
Well, the first time I met Dee Snider was 1982, and he invited my band and I on the road for a tour of America. And
good stories there.
there is that you know, young men in their early 20s going out on the road for the first time, up to no good. A few drinks, you know, mayhem ensues. Yeah, but it was fun. We had a good time, and we've been, you know, friends ever since.
Oh man, it must have been from, geez, like the first video I saw, which was "We're Not Gonna Take It," I think. And I was a kid I had just moved to California, and I remember thinking I wasn't gonna take it after I saw that. I remember thinking, like, you know what? This taught me something. I'm not gonna take anything. Fuck this shit. Fuck these assholes. Fuck this baloney. Anyway, that's what I think. That's what I remember. And then I remember his presence as a kid being in the Pee Wee Herman movie too.
Yeah.
Burn in Hell song. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I wanna rock!
That video was filmed at Montebello.
Oh wow.
Montebello High School. Yeah, that was my pool. I swam in that pool. I got a D- in PE. Yeah, good.
Thanks, man.
And that's a real story.
How about you?
MTV, you know, watching videos, tripping out on guys wearing makeup, long hair, and it was pretty crazy to watch. But after a while, everybody was, you know, wearing makeup, and I think they started it all, you know, for all those other bands.
Were you wearing makeup?
I took my makeup off just
Everybody was doing it, so I just jumped on the bandwagon.
Back in the day.
Welcome to your big night.
My big night is. So I was thought it'd be different. I wouldn't be being insulted by my friends.
Well, so what was the first thing that went through your head when you found out that this was going to happen to you?
No.
No.
The same thing went through my head when they asked me to return to Celebrity Apprentice. No, thank you. But you know what? I mean, I'm such a good target. I've done so much, and I'm such a caricature that they're just drooling to get a piece of me. So, you know, again, it's like a weird backhanded compliment. You're going to be insulted, but people care about you and are interested enough to take the time to insult you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, who do you live in fear of most and what they have to say?
My son Shane.
Oh.
He's on the dais, and he knows way too much about me. Way more than anybody else knows. He knows what I wear in the morning when I wake up, and nobody sees that ever.
Tonight is kind of about laughing and making fun of him. But what would you say is something that he's done in his career that's inspired you?
Talking at the PMRC hearings. Definitely a guy that, you know, people took notice. I don't think they expected him, you know, walking in with his ripped up jeans and like cut off shirts and speaking very eloquently. And, you know, I thought that he did a great job, and that was very inspiring. And, you know, it kind of gave all of us metalhead guys, you know, it made people look at us a little differently, maybe. You know, that maybe because we dress a certain way doesn't mean that, you know, we don't have anything upstairs.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God! I mean, it's him! Yeah! Excellent. That's so cool. That just blew my mind. That's so funny.
That was pretty good.
So yes. What inspires me about him? for me. I mean, seeing a local guy that was doing something very different at the time. I mean, no one was doing like the way they were doing it, and they had to be tough to stick it out and to get to where they were, and they did. They did. And besides that, he's just a damn good singer. He's a cool guy. His band is great. They did it. They did what every kid wanted to do. What I wanted to do. He did it, and it inspired me along.
Well, the truth is he's a survivor, because, I mean, you know, where they came from, and then the massive success, and then like Dee was saying, then like in the early 90s, it was like, no one was buying what I was selling anymore, you know what I mean? He said, and so it went from the massive success down to nothing, you know, and he was just saying, and then just building it back up again, you know, so, I mean, yeah, flat out survivor, you know what I mean? And he's doing great, you know, I mean, it's not like, you know, and then you hear about the other rock stories where he ended up being a junkie and all this other stuff, you know, he never did that, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it just proves, you know, keep working your balls off. Your hard work pays off, you know what I mean? You got to get off the couch, you know what I'm saying?
The fact that he loves his family, the fact that he puts his family first, and all his decisions. I remember talking about, there's this great song they did called The Price, and I love the song, and I remember telling him that's one of my favorite songs, and it really inspires me to listen to it. And I said, you know how I wrote it is, my first son was about to be born, and I was in Europe working on this album, and I was so bummed out that I couldn't be with my family. And I was talking to a family member, and they said, well, that's the price you got to pay, Dee. And then he sat down and wrote, this is the price you got to pay, and all the things you got to, you know.
That's a sweet story.
It was an amazing story. And from that moment on, I love the song even more because of that. So I love Dee for that. I think he's awesome for that. So.
Great.
But I am going to say some horrible shit to him, to his face.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I have to, because we're here to kick each other in the balls. So.
Yeah.
Got so much. I mean, you know, besides his band, opening the doors for lots of other stuff, you know, musically and image-wise, he's always been an unbelievable, you know, vocal supporter of hard rock and heavy metal in so many ways. I mean, you know, everybody's seen his speech from years ago against the PMRC. I mean, you know, the guy really puts his money where his mouth is and is not afraid to stand up against things that he feels are wrong. And I think that's probably, maybe in some ways even bigger than what he's done musically, is the fact that he had such a powerful place to be able to change things from, because Twisted Sister was one of the biggest bands in the world for a long time, and he used that power for the good of hard rock and heavy metal, and not a lot of people would even know how to do that.
You know, I think that the guy's been able to stay relevant and active for a really long time in a business that forgets people pretty quickly. So he's done a lot of great things for people, and he's managed to stay true to his rock and roll roots. So we have a lot of respect for that.
That's pretty easy for me. I think anybody who watches Dee Snider, when he came into the Congress hearing for the PMRC thing, and he had that written statement, everyone thought he was an idiot, and he just laid them to waste. That was so awesome. I mean, I always liked the guy anyways because of his music, but that showed how intelligent he was, and he was right, and it was really cool.
Well, I went and saw him. He got a part in, now I can't remember the name of the movie, or the Broadway song.
Rock of Ages?
Rock of Ages, yeah, and I saw his performance. It was fantastic. And after the show, I went up and told him I thought he was great in it, and really respected the fact that he was stretching out and doing something different. You know, it's admirable. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for him.
Still keeping it going is one thing, and then the movie Strangeland, which I want to remind. I'm sure people are going to talk about it tonight, but the fact that he produced and acted in a movie in the middle of the '90s, which was like such a weird time for hard rock and heavy metal. But I remember working at a movie theater when I was still living in Boston, and that movie was playing, and I went and snuck out and saw the whole movie on my on my working hours. Watched it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think longevity is always very difficult to achieve, especially in this kind of music, and he's definitely achieved that, and then some, you know, and he's still relevant, you know, like he's still a part of the music scene, a big part of it, so I think that's what I respect the most.